And good morning. It is Tuesday, November 1st. We are just 1 week away from the general election. Some of you have voted, many of you have voted, but you have one more week to go. You can vote across Rhode Island through November 7th early at your local Board of Canvassers. And then on November 8th is obviously the general election. We have been interviewing candidates all month long here at What's Up Noop. You can see all of our interviews on whatsupnoop.com. You can also listen to them as a podcast. We have a few more this week. This is our final week of doing them. Later, we'll be chatting with Seth Magaziner, Lauren Carson, Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos. A couple more interviews to go this week, but we are making our way to the ends. But we are stopping in Middletown today as we chat with Emily Tessier, who is a candidate for Middletown Town Council. And how are you, Emily?
I'm doing well. How are you, Ryan?
Good. Running for Middletown Town Council. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to our viewers and listeners.
Sure. Well, first of all, Ryan, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. So again, my name is Emily Tessier. I'm running for town council, and I have been a lifelong resident here in Middletown. So for my entire life, I grew up on Smythe Street, and then I moved over off of Green End Avenue. My dad also lived on Phelps Road for a bit. So lifelong Middletowner. I went to all Middletown schools, and then I got my degree in nutrition and dietetics. So I'm currently a registered dietitian. I work specifically with folks that have eating disorders or who are an endurance athlete. So that's just a little bit of my background. You know, I really like running. I'm always running and biking around the island. And I especially like trails. So you can find me on the Secana Greenway Trail often.
Excellent. What made you decide to run for Middletown Town Council?
Sure. So a couple reasons. Over the past couple of years, I've really been learning what local politics is all about. And I realized that local politics affects you the most in your day-to-day life, which really excites me. As someone in healthcare, I really like helping people. I love people. So understanding that really got me motivated to get more involved in local policy. I also noticed there weren't a lot of young folks getting involved here in Middletown in local politics, and that inspired me. I said, "Hey, I have the time. I happen to have a flexible job now, and I really want to get involved. So now is the time." And hopefully I can inspire other young people to get involved. I think it's so important to have a young person representing our town.
All the candidates declared at the end of June. What have you been hearing from Middletowners and young folks over the last couple months?
Sure. I've been hearing really positive feedback. I've been knocking on quite a few doors. People are very excited to see a younger face, that's nice of them to say, but they're excited to see someone in my generation running for town council. Some of the comments I've been hearing is, "Oh, I'm so excited! Someone new is running. We need more, different sorts of people running for town council in different, positions. So I'm so happy." That's really the gist of what I'm hearing in terms of me running. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. What do you think about adding new people to the council? Why is it important?
Sure. So I think it's so important to have both, new ideas and a different perspective, and also have that wisdom and expertise from people who have been on the council for longer. My weakness, so to speak, is that I don't have that experience, and so I cannot point to things that have already happened that I've been involved with, and lessons learned. I do value that opinion, and I do think that is crucial to have. But yes, having a new voice is important. I think I have some great different a little bit different ideas, and I think everyone's brains work differently. So I find it awesome to have that diversity. That's what I would like to see on the council. So I think there has to be a good mix of both more experienced folks and some younger people, newer people getting involved.
What unique experience do you think you bring?
So I am on the zoning board right now, and I am on the Quinnipiac Island Planning Commission. In terms of my career, I'm a dietitian, so that isn't directly in local politics, but I will say I am educated in public health. So that's that piece. The zoning board has been very eye-opening and really interesting, actually. I'm really realizing zoning is sometimes a very big barrier for building more housing and helping with the housing crisis. Our zoning codes, like the book is almost 200 pages long. So I'd like to say I've learned so much about the zoning, which really is a huge factor in how a town or city or municipality works and runs. So I'd like to bring some of that experience, as well as I've done lots of my own reading, researching on that topic. I think I can bring those topics to the town council.
On the zoning board, what has been your what have you learned, or what has surprised you, or it's been your biggest takeaway?
Sure. I quickly realized that on the zoning board, you cannot change the zoning ordinances. You can interpret them and enforce them. So I did not really realize that. So my biggest takeaway is we have a lot of barriers to allowing more people to live in Middletown that want to be living in Middletown, and our zoning ordinances, as well as really any at this point municipality in our nation. It's a huge barrier to our housing crisis. As you know, we are in a housing crisis, and that is another reason why I am running for town council. I am a millennial. I cannot, I do not own a home, and I would really like to. So I really learned with the zoning, being on the zoning board. We've had to say no to people building new housing, or someone wants to turn their single family home into a duplex, and they're not allowed to. They just not allowed, can't do that. You need a special permit and a variance. There's specific criteria that you need to, meet. And if you don't, you cannot build that duplex or change your home. So I find that problematic. So that is my big takeaway. I'd really like to focus on that if I am elected.
What do you think are the other big issues, or what else are you hearing about? Obviously, housing or affordable housing. What are some of the other priorities that you're hearing about, or things that, if elected on November 8th, you would like to try to focus on?
Sure. Some of the big things I've been hearing, lots of people have questions, of course, about regionalization. That's a very big topic when I'm knocking on doors.
Just a few people.
Just a few. I mean, rightfully so. I think it's sometimes difficult for, first of all, people to keep up with national politics, state politics, local politics. There's a lot of information. People are working a lot, so I think sometimes people simply just have questions, and it's also difficult to find all the answers. I think there's a lot of quote unquote what ifs, or what's going to happen if it does get passed, like what exactly is going to be built. Et cetera. How is this going to work? So people have a lot of questions. What I have found, a lot of folks seem to be for it. At least the people who I've been knocking on doors, it seems to be a popular position. So that is a big topic. And then, of course, on my palm cards, one of my big things I'd like to focus on too is bike and pedestrian safety. And so I have people who do ride bikes or like to walk. They seem to point that out and be very excited about that as well.
Yeah, I was laughing because I have like 50 letters to the editor, I think, on the topic of regionalization from Middletown and Newport. And I'm trying to find a way to fit them all in this week.
There's so much. Yes, I know.
There are. But what's important right now is what is your opinion on question 4 and 5 in Middletown? I mean, what do you think about the process regarding the regionalization school district? How do you think is best to move forward?
Sure. So I am pro regionalization. My opinion is that I think it's a good idea. I think it makes sense to have one administration that would, and yes, that would save money for both districts. Then that money can go to our schools. Middletown absolutely needs new schools. That's what I've learned. Apparently our buildings we're not maintained. We need new schools regardless. So I think it makes a lot of sense financially, but that also then trickles down to, it makes sense because that freed up money will then go to our kids. Newport would also get that money as well. And what I'd like to see this get passed, but when we do have new schools and buildings, I'd like to see them be built in a flexible, adaptable way so we can accommodate for full regionalization one day. I do anticipate that happening at some point in the future. I think that's a great idea. So I'd like to see our schools be built flexible enough to accommodate that sort of change in the future. But yes, I do think it's a great idea. I think we're such a small island. Why do we have 3 of everything? I think we would save a lot of money and a lot of resources if we pooled and did more things together. There are towns and cities bigger than our entire island, both land-wise and population. I like the towns that surround us. I would like to work more together with them. So I think it's a great idea to have regionalization to start.
4 and 5 have to pass in Middletown, and 5 has to pass in Newport for all of it to move forward. There has to be 3 approves. How do you think you move forward in the best interest of Middletown children if one of the 3 questions is rejected?
Sure. Well, we need new schools regardless, and I want to make sure students, teachers, any faculty and staff are supported. Clearly, many people know, right now Middletown Public Schools are in debt. So we need to find a way to, if those do not pass, we will need to find a way to make sure our schools are not in debt and our schools are well funded. Of course, I would hate and do not want to raise everyone's taxes. I would have no idea what that would look like if we had to pay for that all with by raising taxes. So we need to think of creative ways to increase our tax base. I think we should have a full-time grant writer in our town to be writing grants for different social programs and other things that that our taxes cannot cover. I would just like to we would have to be creative and think of other ways to raise money to pay for our schools, because they do need to be fixed and rebuilt, to be honest. So I don't know exactly what that looks like, but we would have a lot of work to do.
There's been a lot of forums, debates, questions answered by candidates. What's been your biggest takeaway from all of the question answering, maybe in your own experience, as well as what you've heard from some of the other candidates on the ballot?
Sure. I mean, I think most in terms of Middletown, almost all of the candidates are on the same page with regionalization, which to me is reassuring. So if and when I am elected, we all have a similar vision there. That is usually a big topic. The Middletown Town Center is another big topic in short-term rentals, and I find that there are some a little bit differences in opinions, but all in all, what I've found is I can see current council, and if I were to join the current council, it would be a team that I'd want to work with. Like, I do think that we would be able to have good discussions and reach positive, productive conclusions as to how to move forward, to find a balance between listening to our residents and making sure we are leaders in the community.
What are some of the differences between you and some of the other candidates on maybe the Middletown Town Center or affordable housing, or just where do you differ from some of them?
Sure. I differ in that it's not that I don't think the Middletown Town Center, I don't hate it, and we need housing, and that is 100%. We are on the same page there. I think where I differ is I'm over here looking at the big picture. Why are we in a housing crisis? The Middletown Town Center is not going to put a dent in what's happening right now. If you look on Zillow, as all of my generation does in their free time, there's barely any houses for sale, and they're all very expensive when they are. I can name off like 5, 10 of my, people I graduated with that would want to move back here and cannot. So I'm looking at the big picture. What are we doing as a whole to get to fix this housing crisis? Whereas from my perspective, what it looks like is the town council is doing a great job at trying to get, the Middletown Commons or project happening. That'll create quite a few units, and some other projects that they're working on that they couldn't give specifics. So from my eyes, like that's great, but we can't fix everything with like 1 or 2 10-year long mega projects. I like to look at things from how can we fix this from an organic, flexible perspective. And I would like to see some of the zoning changed, for example, to help fix that. That's kind of how I would see things. And I'm also a huge advocate for bike and pedestrian safety. I would say I'm probably the biggest one running right now. That I have the most thoughts on that, and I do I have solutions that I would like to see happen. Yeah.
Do you have if somebody had the answer, I mean, it would be great, but the answer to how do we fix affordable housing? How do we keep home prices down for residents?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody will have, the exact answer, or this would all be solved already. But,
yeah.
What are some solutions that we can do to make it so people who grew up in Middletown can stay in Middletown?
Sure. So from what I've learned, I have read books on zoning. I've been reading books on how to keep your town viable and strong and vibrant. Because again, I don't have that long-term experience on the town council. So I have to, 1, get out in the community and talk to people, and 2, educate myself. So the way I see it best being solved, and I don't mean to harp on this, but is changing our zoning code and legalizing different sorts of housing besides the stereotypical large single-family home. That's all that's really allowed to be built in Middletown. It's either that, or if there's like a special big project where it's a big apartment building. There's no in between. When you look at the history of zoning, like that's kind of that is what's really been a huge driver in creating this housing crisis. It's a simple part of it is a simple supply and demand. We cannot build enough housing right now, and Rhode Island is last in our nation with giving out, with approving building permits, and we're especially bad at approving multifamily housing. So if you have one lot and all you can build is one big single family home, that's only one family. If you can build the same size home but have 2 or 3 families in there, you are then doubling, the amount of families that could live here. So when all you have is big sprawl with huge lots and one single family home, like you're not going to have a lot of people be able to live here. If you want that home, you totally can. You have that right. But I also think we should have a right to build different sorts of housing.
Over the last 30 days, I've interviewed a lot of candidates across the island on school committee and town council and Senate and House and congressional. One of the things I've been kind of pushing, because I'm hearing all of the, everybody on the island it's not like affordable housing is, well, I guess it can be a little bit more important in one or the other. But it seems like there is an opportunity going forward here where maybe quarterly, the 3 governments can get together and talk about some of the solutions they're coming up with on something like affordable housing, or how they plan on working on schools and education, or cannabis, or just the thought. I think there's the opportunity even for zoning boards on the 3 communities to get together and chat more. So I guess that's just my opine moment of everybody on the island is almost having the same issue. I support everybody getting together. So
I would love to see that. I love working with everyone, with other people. I think that's so important. We're on an island together. We, residents will bop back and forth between our municipalities. either living or, using different services from our different towns. I think it makes so much sense to have more collaboration, be on the same page. I think that would really make things a lot easier, probably save us money. I love that collaboration. I think I think we absolutely should. And I think, you know, that's just such a great idea. I really like that point that you made.
I just need to get somebody on board to lead the effort. So maybe we can find somebody who's responsible, who's involved in all the towns.
You're like, I wonder if I would love to do that. I think that's great. I love working with other folks. I love, if you couldn't tell, I'm pretty extroverted. I love hearing what other people have to say. So that would be wonderful. I would love to try and spearhead that.
One of the other plugs I do, especially when I have somebody who serves on a board or commission, is remind people that you don't always have to run for office to get involved. You can sign up for a board and commission in whatever town you live in, especially if you get elected to town council. That seat will be open. If you go to Town of Middletown's website, there's probably a list of openings on boards and commissions. And it's important for people to get involved. It's a first step, like it has been for you.
Absolutely. It's really fun. You have a lot of say on these boards and commissions. And if you have availability, even just once a month for an hour or two, usually in the evening, you could do it. You could start with joining the Open Spaces and Fields or the Affordable Housing Committee. We have all sorts of organizations and committees that you can join. And it's a great way to start learning and getting involved and meeting with other local leaders just to see what's happening. Because it's really hard to pay attention to everything. One of my big things is where are the young people? I would love, I would love to see more of my age group get involved, but we're very busy. We work a lot of jobs. We have a lot of student loans to pay. But if you have 1 or 2 hours once a month, I think that's such a valuable, it's a valuable way to spend your time.
So the big takeaway there, my opinion is young people's or other people's opinions will matter more serving on a commission or on something of that sort more than on Facebook. Get involved.
Yes, absolutely. You got to be careful with Facebook.
Yes.
All the social media platforms. I really believe in getting out there and actually talking in person, or Zoom is fine. But really having that sort of connection is, I think, vital in building your community. That's how you build it. You don't do it with like Facebook posts. You do it by having chats with your neighbors and with people in the, if you join the Affordable Housing Committee, getting to know everyone else on the Affordable Housing Committee, getting out and talking to people. I mean, that's what creates community character.
Yes, I agree. There is a question also on the Middletown Town Council ballot, which, this question across the board, people might be surprised by it, might be taken back by it, just surprised to see it there, is the cannabis question, which General Assembly approved, sent it down to each city and town, said, if you want cannabis in the community, send it to your own voters and they can vote on it. Where do you fall on the sale, production of cannabis in Middletown?
Sure. So they did lump all of those into one question. So I think it's like the production and something else, and then the sale.
Yeah.
I really like to look at research for this sort of thing rather than just my own personal opinion. I think it's so important. And the big issue I'm hearing that's popping up is, how is this going to affect our kids? Are our kids going to all start smoking more weed or, using more drugs? And I've really had, it's kind of difficult to look up studies, I think just because it's federally illegal. So I don't know if there's the type of dollars going towards that sort of study, but the studies I have found said that there is no effect. And at the same time, I would like to still look at some more, research and maybe talk to our prevention coalition before I make a decision. But right now the research I've seen says that it would not make our children all of a sudden have a much higher rate in marijuana usage. And that's my main concern. If you're an adult, I think that's fine. I don't care what you do. We have lots and lots of liquor stores. So, I'm leaning for sure. I would vote for that. And I also want to make sure I listen to our community, and I would like to speak to our prevention coalition and just get the full picture. I'm open to having that conversation.
To get the full picture, and I hate to put you on the spot because I haven't asked this of any other candidate, but I'm just wondering at any of these forums or anything, has there been a tax impact mentioned, or have you seen it or read it anywhere of if it's approved, this is the potential of how much tax dollars that could come in?
Sure. I don't know specifics at all. I would imagine, hey, it's a business and it's absolutely would be taxed. So I'd imagine it would bring in tax dollars. So again, I would never want to put tax dollars over, like, if that would seriously create a problem for our kids. Like, I don't think that's worth it. But yeah, I would imagine it would absolutely bring business, and bring in tax dollars to our town. I can't imagine that it would not. I don't know how much or to what extent. I think that would just determine as to how popular it'd be. I would imagine it'd be popular, and how big it is and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Emily, is there anything that we have not gotten to today? Any topics that you wanted to bring up?
I mean, the main topics as to why I'm running, which we actually did review a bit, besides the fact that, hey, I would like to see some younger people getting involved. Again, I want to make sure but this is kind of my pitch here is I want to make sure Middletown's a place that is still is attracting all age groups, all sorts of people, diversity. We need more young people moving here, and I just am really worried that is not happening. That's what creates, again, a vibrant community, is all different socioeconomic statuses, just all sorts of diversity, all different age groups, all different ethnicities. I'm just worried that with this housing crisis, and what the younger generations are looking for in a community, Middletown is in danger of young folks not wanting to move here, and then having our population be only one demographic. I think that's not good. So I just want to make sure more young people can move here and want to get involved. I want to make sure we listen to everyone. And so, yes, one of my big things is addressing the housing crisis looking at it from a bigger point of view. I don't own a car. I have an e-bike. And just a regular bike, because they're expensive. But what I've realized is lots of other people bike around and walk around too. And I would like to see our community be car optional. I want to prioritize people. So you can have a car if you want, but you should not have to have a car to live here. And it's pretty scary when you have to go on West Main or East Main Road or across the street. There's not even a bike rack at Shaw's. So I'd really like to see some changes with our bike and pedestrian infrastructure. And lastly, I'd also, what I've noticed is it's not just our town council, but there seems to be really lots of emphasis on big, giant, like mega projects that fix a problem that take like 5 years or 10 years. I would like to see more, data, like things that affect people positively day to day. Like, oh, let's go put a seat at this bus stop. There's no seat. It's just a sign. Or, oh, this sidewalk needs repair, or like we need more paint here. Little things that really can positively affect a community. I would like to see some of that work be emphasized as well. I think that sort of organic change and growth is so important. So I'd like to bring that to the table. And that's sort of what's been on my mind and some of the driving factors as to why I'm running.
Tough question here. Why do you love Middletown, and what keeps you in Middletown?
Sure. Again, I grew up here. My family's here. I love running to the beach and walking through our neighborhoods and, the Norman Bird Sanctuary, Satchmas Point. It's close proximity to downtown Newport if you want to have that, a night out or something like that. But I love being close to my family. I love when I'm biking and walking and running around the island and specifically Middletown. I think it's just so fun. And I just love the people. I really like, I've been getting involved and talking to more folks, and the people are great. I just love it. They're so nice. Like everyone's really nice when I knock on their door. And again, I think that's what creates community. And so I'd really like to stay here and just serve our community. So yeah, it's the people, and of course, it's a beautiful place. So that's why.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to join us today, and we wish you the very best of luck over the next week. Just 1 week left, and Emily Tessier is looking for your vote, Middletown Town Council. And good luck.
Thank you so much, Ryan. This was awesome.
All right. We will talk to you soon. That is Emily Tessier, and we appreciate her joining us today to chat about her candidacy for Middletown Town Council. If you want to watch this, share it, listen to it, all available on whatsupnewt.com. Thanks for watching.